classic Thomas Jefferson style version. So I'm going to show you the basic steps to make. Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with macaroni and cheese, the classic Thomas Jefferson style version. So I'm going to show you the basic steps to make macaroni and cheese, and then I'm going to show you in the middle of the video how to alter the recipe depending on how cheesy you want this to be. Alright, so all of these traditional recipes start with a roux. We're going to melt some butter in a saucepan on medium heat, and when it sings, listen to this, hear that? When the butter sings, when you hear it start to foam and bubble, you're going to add your flour, and it's going to make a very light roux, a very light colored and light textured roux. You're going to cook that on medium for about 3 or 4 minutes, just to cook out the starch and the flour. I'm going to add some thyme, some cayenne, some white pepper into the roux. Now, why didn't I just add that to the finished cream sauce? Because I vaguely remember in culinary school, there's some spices and herb flavors that are oil soluble, and they come out better in oil than just in liquid environment. So and I could be, totally dreaming. Alright, so I'm going to cook that for another minute, and then pour in a cup of milk, whisk it in really quickly, make sure the milk is cold, then you won't have lumps. Hot roux. Cold milk, no lumps. Then I'm going to add 2 more cups of milk, and that is going to be your basic white sauce. Now you're going to bring that up to a simmer on medium heat, and while it's coming up to simmer, I'm going to grate in some fresh nutmeg. Get yourself a fresh nut of nutmeg and grate it yourself. 1,000 times better. But if you don't, put it in the cheap powdered stuff. I'm going to put a couple drips, which is different than drops, of Worcestershire sauce. And forget about this salt to taste. I'm done with salt to taste. Put in a teaspoon. Alright, do not question it. You'll see when that comes to a simmer, done with salt to taste. Put in a teaspoon. Alright, do not. I'm going to put a couple drips, which is different than drops, of Worcestershire sauce. And forget about this salt to taste. I'm done with salt to taste. Put in a teaspoon. Alright, do not question it. You'll see when that comes to a simmer, it thickens up. We're going to let that simmer on medium-low for about 8 minutes. In the meantime, you're going to grate your cheese. I have 3 cups of mixed cheeses. I'm using a cheddar, Gouda, and cups of. I'm going to grate your cheese. I have 3 cups of mixed cheeses. I'm using a cheddar, Gouda, and Gruyere mixture, which is quite fantastic. Turn off the heat. Is quite fantastic. Turn off the heat and add your cheese in a couple additions, saving about 3/4 of a cup for the top. All right, now I had these cheeses left over, but for you, I think you should use all cheddar. That's what Thomas Jefferson used, Vermont cheddar. But any cheeses, your favorite cheeses work. I think a sharp cheddar cheese really is the best, but hey, that's just me. And with the heat off, that's just going to melt in there, and it's going to make this beautiful, creamy, cheesy sauce. So all our cheese is melted in, and the last thing here, I'm going to add a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. I don't like dry mustard. All right, so now let's talk pasta. Now let's talk pasta. We're going to slow things down here because I got to talk to you people. Most of these recipes for this amount of cheese sauce are going to call for 8 ounces of pasta. I'm going to use a whole box, which is 1 pound, which makes a very still delicious version, but not as cheesy, not as creamy, much lighter, much lower fat. If you want to split the difference, lighter, much lower fat, which is 1 pound, which makes a very still delicious version, but not as cheesy, not as creamy, much lighter, much lower fat. If you want to split